Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to A.O.S Abroad. I'm so glad to actually be having this conversation with you today. We're starting very shortly with our webinar series, and today's episode is centered on the topic temporary versus permanent residence visa, making the right choice. Making the right choice. So, if you can actually listen to me, if you can hear me well, please let me know very well right now if I'm audible, if you are hearing me. So, without wasting much of our time, this is 3 p.m. already by my own time here. So, as soon as you join us, let us know where you are reaching out joining us from. I am Aziz from Ontario, Canada, and today I'm going to be your host. I would actually be taking this conversation, you understand, with you. I will be having the floor basically. So, let me know. I am Aziz, as I said, Aziz from Ontario, Canada. Anywhere you are joining us from, let us know. Put it in the chat section. Let us make this interactive so that we actually get to enjoy ourselves. So, without wasting much of our time, today we are going to be taking the topic making the right choice between temporary versus permanent residence visa. So, what exactly is even temporary residence and what is permanent residence? So, we are going to actually be taking this we're going to be taking this, and I don't want to waste our time. Let's really go delve down into what we have for today. But before we talk about what we have, I want to give you the kind of content from the beginning to the end of what we are going to be discussing. All right, thank you. Rashidat says yes, we can hear you, and I am Rashidat from Canada. Okay, so the content of discussion we are going to be doing today. Firstly, number one, understanding temporary residence is going to be the first thing we're going to talk about. Reduce the volume. Two, exploring permanent residence pathway. Three, temporary to permanent transition. How are you going to be able to move or to switch from temporary to permanent residence? Fourth, we are going to be talking about considerations for international students, considerations for skilled workers and permanent residency. We are going to also be talking about the visitor visa to asylum, you understand, towards permanent residence. We would also talk about family sponsorship and permanent residence. And we are going to end with the quality of life and long-term planning. Long-term planning. So, again, if you are joining us from anywhere at all, put your name and put where you're joining us from, you understand, in the comment section so that we know that we are actually, you understand, we are actually communicating very well. And if I'm audible, let me know. If you are seeing the slides as we have actually been presenting right now, let me know. So moving on, um, you may be asking, who exactly is this webinar for? Now, this webinar is for you if you are, firstly, you are someone that is an aspiring temporary traveler or a permanent immigrant willing to learn how to go about it. Firstly, two, if you don't even have a travel history, but you are tired of your own country and you want to, as they say in Nigeria, Japa, this is for you. If you're an African, a Caribbean, an European, an Asian, an American, Australian, whether be it at home or abroad, whether be it you are in your home country or you have gone out to other countries, like a lot of people reach out to us from Dubai, you understand, from Malaysia and places like that. If this is for you, or if you want to know about this, then this is for you. If you're a current international student, whether be it in Canada, in UK, in US, in Australia, Germany, or places like that, then this is for you. If you're a temporary foreign worker who is working for a Canadian, American, or UK company, this is for you. If you are a spouse with an open or closed work permit, you understand, and you can't easily become, you understand, a permanent resident, this is for you. If you are a visitor or tourist abroad with a visa whose 3 to 6 months visa duration is fast ending, then this is also for you. If you are thinking of even seeking asylum already and you want to stay back permanently in Canada, let's say you are already in Canada, then this is for you. If you are a sole immigrant, just one immigrant, or you are a single parent, or you are a family with a kid, or maybe children, a lot of children, or even with your housemate, then this is for you. If you are a tech or health professional, a digital nomad, a manager, a director, or supervisor, this is for you. If you are a business owner, a self-employed, seasoned investor, a wealthy immigrant or expatriate, then this is for you. If you are a recent national or foreign graduate aspiring to build a career in Canada, let's say you just finished your program, your degree or diploma, then this is for you. If you're an engineer, a scientist, doctor, teacher, lawyer, truck driver, or salesperson, this is definitely for you. If you are a tradesperson like a carpenter, tailor, plumber, painter, hairstylist, barber, and so on, this is for you. If you don't even have any certificate, you don't have any diploma, you don't have any degree, not like you don't have any NC, any OND, any HND, any BSc, any PGD, any MSc, PhD, this is definitely for you. If you are struggling perhaps with the express entry, you understand, you are struggling with it, and due to maybe old age, whether you are 40 plus years, 50 plus years, or even 60 plus years, then this is definitely for you. If you are with or without the IELTS, the CELP, the PTE, the TEF Canada, TCF Canada, or DEF test results, then this is definitely for you. If you are an English and or French speaker, you understand, or learner, and you don't have time or willingness to study, then this is definitely for. If you have been rejected or refused a visa application and or denied, you understand, even entry when you landed in Canada airports, then this is for you. If you have gotten banned in recent years or past times in Canada, UK, US, you understand, Australia, Belgium, or France, then this is definitely for you. Now, moving on, I always like to talk about this anytime we're talking about a web, anytime we're having a webinar. Why must you listen to me? And who is A.O.S abroad? Who is A.O.S? What? My name, Aziz Olariwaju Shodiru. Who am I exactly? So I'm a first-time immigrant. You understand? I was successful at once when I worked on my own immigration the first time to become a Canadian PR immigrant. I was also a United Kingdom graduate student. You understand? I studied my master's in the UK. Do you understand? And I'm still studying actually. I'm an international French language teacher. I've been teaching people in different countries the French language and preparing them for, you understand, examinations like TEF Canada, TCF Canada, and DEF. I have mentored tech experts from 20 plus countries. You understand? Some of those countries are well listed here, from Algeria down to, you understand, Australia. I've actually assisted people down the line. I've also assisted 350 plus students and immigrants. I'm a graphic designer and web designer for past Nigerian companies that I've worked for. As well, I'm a common law partner by relationship, a data scientist by the current qualification I have right now, and I'm also a travel business owner in Ontario, Canada. So perhaps this would give you a kind of brief introduction about what who I am and what we are trying to actually achieve today. Now you may be asking that, okay, let's go down to the overview of temporary residence visas, how you can land in Canada as a temporary resident. So today we want to talk about the options, the various temporary visa options for individuals to study in Canada, to work in Canada, and to visit in Canada. Those are the really three main types of ways you can come into Canada temporarily. Now, the first one being the temporary foreign worker program, which is the TFWP. This allows Canadian employers to hire foreign workers to fill temporary labor jobs, you understand, and skill shortages. And the eligibility criteria is that you need to have a job offer from a Canadian employer and a positive labor market impact assessment report. In most cases, many people don't know that there are different types of LMIAs. There's positive LMIA, there's negative LMIA, there's neutral LMIA, and most times positive LMIA can actually get you that job in place of neutral or negative LMIA. The duration is that generally it takes up to 2 years, but again, they are LMIAs that you can get that can shorten the lifespan. Within 6 months, you could get it. Within 9 months, you could get it. You understand? Within even 5 months, sometimes you could get your LMIA, especially if you are in Canada already as a visitor. Do you understand? And you are seeking to. And some people are always fortunate that within the same day, they can even get their, you understand, their work permits if they go through the concept of flag polling, which we'll talk again in another, you understand, conversation. And the application basically is that the employer applies for the LMIA, not the worker. You understand? It is the worker that applies for work permit, but the employer gets the LMIA on behalf of the worker. Now, that's the first way you can come into Canada, through the work permit, the number one. The number two being what? The study permit. The study permit allows international students to study at a designated learning institution, DLI for short, in Canada. And the eligibility is that you must have a letter of acceptance from a DLI. And now they say, yes, you must even have attestation letter from the province, and you must have proof of sufficient funds and meet health and security requirements in order to become a study or a student. Another thing is that the duration is that your program, the validity for the length of the study program must be more than 90 days, or let me say, perhaps when they approve, they can approve it within 30 to 90 days, your temporary residence visa application. But again, the study program that you have to actually study maybe must be more than 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, depending on the one you actually want to apply for. And the application is always applied online or on paper, but most times they do it online now with necessary documents, including proof of acceptance, financial support, and you understand, the statement of purpose that will be sent to the school and to IRCC. Now, that's the second way you can come into Canada temporarily, through the study permit. The third way is through what we know as the visitor visa, which is the temporary resident visa, TRV. Most people, even if you are coming through the study permit or work permit, you will still be given the TRV, the temporary residence visa. But the usefulness may just differ. The usefulness of the TRV may be just for you to enter Canada, and when you now enter Canada, you now get the permit to work or study. But for visitor visa, you just get the TRV. You don't get any of the permits. You don't get the study permit or the work permit. And the purpose of that is for you to actually come to tour Canada just for tourism, or to visit family and friends, or for short-term business activities. And some people do short-term studies, like some people that come into Canada and apply for what we know as what the truck driving training. You can just do some short trainings, 3 months training, 6 weeks training, 8 weeks training, to actually get here and to, you understand, get to do that short-term business activities. And the eligibility basically is that you must demonstrate the purpose of your visit and your financial capability and ties to your own country, so that you go back to your country, and the intent to leave Canada after the visit. And the duration, generally, it's valid for up to 6 months per visit. Many people can be given 5-year visa, 10-year, you understand, visit visa. But again, they must come into Canada and leave after 6 months. You understand? You mustn't use more than 6 months, especially if you don't apply to extend your stay. Now, the application can be done as well online or on paper with supporting documents such as travel itinerary, proof, financial proof, and ties to the home country. So those are the type of temporary residence routes. Now, let's go into the different permanent residence programs that we have and the benefits of obtaining permanent residence and the eligibility criteria. Now, the one many people know about is what we know as the Express Entry. And why? Because Express Entry has the Federal Skilled Worker Program, Federal Skilled Trades Program, Canadian Experience Class Program. And yes, it has been so popular because, yes, you just need work experience of at least 1 year. Your language proficiency may be within, okay, maybe if it's FSWP, you may need CLB 7, but FSTP or Canadian Experience Class, maybe, you understand, CLB 5. And you need your education, you need your proof of funds, you need job offer or other certifications to actually show for that. Now, PMPs are one other program that people always shy away from. We have different types of PMP programs: base provincial nominee program and enhanced provincial nominee program, EPNP. And in addition to the express entry requirement at the top that we talked about, you need to have intent to reside in a particular province or territory you apply to, and you need to have the relevant skills and work experience they are actually looking for in that particular province or territory. Now, QSWP, as you know, Quebec is always different from the rest of provinces in Canada. So they have their own separate immigration programs. The QSWP, which stands for Quebec Skilled Worker Program, you understand, the purpose is for skilled workers who wish to settle in the province of Quebec and their language proficiency in French and English, and they have to obtain the CSQ, Certificat de Sélection du Québec, from the Quebec government. Now, the business visas. The business visas are visas that are required. Like, some people will tell me I'm a self-employed. Some will tell me that, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm this, I'm that. Most of the visas you can get in Canada as someone in business is the startup visa program, is under the startup visa program or the self-employed persons program, and the purpose is designed for entrepreneurs with the skills and potential to build businesses, you understand, and they have to get letter of support from a designated organization like a venture capital fund, an angel investor group, or business incubator, and they must intend and be able to become self-employed in Canada in their relevant fields. Now, there are other different programs apart from the four we mentioned, which are the family sponsorship programs, which basically allows Canadian citizens and permanent residents to sponsor their relatives to come to Canada as permanent residents. So if you are someone that you have a family member in Canada, they can actually sponsor you through what we know as the family sponsorship program. Now, let's now go into the breakdown and briefly let's discuss the key routes you can use to switch. We have talked about the temporary resident, and now we have talked about the permanent resident. Let's now talk about the ability for you to be able to switch from temporary resident to PR resident, assuming that, okay, you have been here as a visitor, you have been here as a student, or you are here as a worker. Now, there are three main ways I do tell people that you can actually, you understand, switch from temporary residence to permanent residence. I make it simplified. I simplify it for you so that you really understand what it is all about. The first major way that you can actually transition from a temporary resident to a permanent resident is for you to spend time in Canada. And when we say you should spend time in Canada, that means you need to gain Canadian work experience. In other words, you need to maybe come in through work permits. You understand? Get that Canadian, apply through that Canadian experience class program under the express entry. Or, for instance, maybe you have studied before and your school gives you what we know as post-graduation work permit, the PGWP or postgraduate work permit. You have that as an opportunity to now use that experience that you have gathered to apply for another program, or again use what we know as the family sponsorship, which is the one that your sponsor is the one that actually spends time in Canada, either as a spouse or as a common law partner or as a parent or as a grandparent. Do you understand? And they just sponsor you, whether be it their son, you understand, their spouse, their sibling, or things like that. Now, moving on, the second way for you to transition from temporary residence to permanent residence is through the ability for you to spend money in Canada. Do you understand? And if I'm talking about spending money in Canada, what that just basically means is that you have to leverage study in Canada. In other words, you have to spend money, do you understand, to go to school, to study a diploma, a degree, or a certificate. You understand? And you transition from a study permit to a permanent residence program, or again, for you to secure a job offer, employers supported pathways, work permits to PR, and that is for you to actually come from your home country, try to spend money by looking for a job, you understand, stressing yourself on trying to actually get an employer that would employ you right from your home country to become a PR, you understand, once you finally land after working for that employer. Or again, for you to visit Canada, spend your funds for tourism in Canada, you understand, and after spending your funds for tourism in Canada, you come into Canada to switch to asylum, you understand, and to become a refugee. And the third way for you to go about it, if you want to transition from temporary residence to permanent residency, is for you to really spend the both abroad. Spending time abroad and spending money abroad. So you now have to decide, how would you be able to spend money abroad and time abroad? One is for you to improve your language skills and proficiency. Many people have written IELTS before, they made maybe like band 4, and yes, they need to rewrite IELTS. Some may actually need to learn a new language, maybe like a French language, and to actually take TEF Canada or TCF Canada examinations. And some may actually need to, you understand, just boost their proficiency already, if they already know any of those two languages, in order to get added points. Now, number 2 is for you to obtain a provincial nominee program nomination, and this is where we talk about people actually applying for PMPs without necessarily being in Canada already, but applying to you understand, applying to the PMPs right from your home country. And even though you spend time and you spend money in your country, it may not be the same as spending time or money in Canada. And 3, for you to apply via specific immigration programs. Like we have different other programs that we do talk about, like the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program, or the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, or program now because it's no longer a pilot. And these 2 programs, for instance, require you to, you understand, again, look for jobs from your country in Canada to be able to apply for those, you understand, pathways. Now let's move on. What are the considerations for international students and the advantages of you studying in a foreign country on a temporary basis? Because we need to know, if you decide that you want to come through a study permit route, what exactly would you benefit from? Firstly, you benefit from high quality education because the many globally recognized universities and colleges are in Canada, and they are respected worldwide, and they have research institutions as well that you can carry out research if that is what actually you want to do. Another thing is work opportunities. You can work up to 20 hours per week. I think now it's about 24 hours, you understand, based on the new changes and the policies of the IRCC during the academic sessions, and full time. You can work even full time during the scheduled breaks or after you are done with your schooling if you qualify for the PGWP. Now, another thing is the pathway to permanent residence. Canadian Experience Class is a pathway under Express Entry for you to be able to explore when you come into Canada as a temporary resident or as an international student. Even provincial nominee programs, PNPs, are other pathways for you to become a PR resident after you have actually schooled in Canada. The only thing is that for study permit, you may need to first work on those programs, finish those programs, maybe like a 1 year program, a 2 year program, or a 3 year program before you have the opportunity to switch to, you understand, the PR pathways. And again, it is not sure, but again, it is one pathway a lot of students make use of. Now, financial aids. Many times you can apply for scholarships, apply for grants and bursaries available to international students based on merit and need, and that would actually support you in your quest to actually study in Canada. Now, let's now move on. Let's talk about temporary skilled workers and their pathway to permanent residence. How can skilled workers actually navigate the pathway to permanent residence? So let's assume you are already in Canada. You have the work permit. Maybe you have a 1 year contract or 2 year contract. There are some ways you can go about it. Number one is the Express Entry system and its programs. As I said before, you can use the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, and the Canadian Experience Class programs. And what eligibility do you really need for this? Firstly, you need to accumulate Canadian work experience, have higher language test scores, have higher education, and you can even, which can help you improve your CRS scores. Many people always think that once they land in Canada as a student or as a worker, they will not need to go through these requirements again, and that's false. That's false. Even if you land as a worker, even if you land as a student, you still need language scores, you still need, you understand, work experience, whether be it the one you gathered from your foreign country or the one you gathered in Canada, and you still need sometimes higher education, though it is not all applicants that need it, because yes, I do talk about my common law partner that didn't necessarily have higher education to actually come into Canada. Now, another thing is provincial nominee programs. You still need to actually go through some of these programs to get your PR. You understand? It varies by province because the criteria for Alberta may be different from the criteria of Manitoba or different from the criteria of Ontario. Each province and territory has its own streams targeting different workers, categories of workers. So you need to now know which province are your skill sets required, because again, once you can get that nomination, it will add up 600 points to your CRS score, and with that 600 points, even if you just had 20 points before you understand the Express Entry, you can be more or less guaranteed to actually get, you understand, the ITA, the invitation to apply for permanent residence by the federal government of Canada. And other PR programs which we have talked about earlier is the Atlantic Immigration Program and the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program, which would also soon become a full-fledged program. And this requires you to have a valid job offer from an employer if you have already had it already, and a work experience for years in that related job, do you understand? And a recommendation sometimes from the community that you want to actually reside in. Now, another pathway, some people will ask that, how can I get permanent residence if I come in through visitor visa? You can either come in, or you can either change your visitor visa to permanent residence through some of those programs we have talked about, like the Express Entry, the PNP and RNIP and AIP, or go through the asylum. And from years, right from 2022, a lot of people have been seeking asylum. As you can see, based on the statistics that we have, 55,000 plus people sought asylum in 2018, 64,000 plus people sought asylum in 2019, 23,000 sought asylum in 2020, maybe because of the corona period. 24,000 plus also sought asylum in 2021 due to the, I think, post-COVID time. But after there was a kind of balance, we now had 91,000 people seeking asylum in the year 2022, and even 2023, I believe it's even more than that. But again, it begs the question that there are a lot of visitors that are touring Canada for the sole purpose, you understand, of seeking asylum. And this could surge the route for one accepted claim out of four referred claims, you understand, by country of alleged persecution from after the years 2020. So what that means basically is that if you look at even this 2022, 91,000 people applying for claims do not mean that 91,000 were selected. In fact, based on the statistics of those that were selected, it shows that for every one person that was selected, three were rejected. You understand? There were four referred claims and only one was accepted. But again, if the rate keeps on increasing like this, we can see in the future that out of every 10, do you understand? Only two may be accepted, which may be like 85% rejection. But again, many people are still getting invited, or many people are still getting accepted for asylum. So it may be a pathway for you to actually consider. Now, family sponsorship is another pathway that you can consider to actually come in. You understand? And maybe, for instance, you are already in Canada as a temporary resident. You can also use family sponsorship to get your permanent residence. And the first thing, the eligibility criteria of that is that you need to have a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident to bring you as a family member to live, work, and study. You understand? In other words, promoting the family reunification that Canada wants. And two, your family members that can support you to actually do that family sponsorship is either your spouse, your common law partner, your conjugal partner, your dependent child, your parents, grandparents, you understand, sponsorship, or even other orphaned eligible relatives. Now, the processing time of that, just like for most of all other applications too, can actually be generally around 12 months. Some applications are actually faster than that. You understand? Like parents and grandparents sponsorship can take longer. But if it is spouse application, it can take faster. Common law application, it can take faster than that. It varies basically again based on the type of sponsorship and the residence country that you're coming from. And there's something we know as the lonely Canadian. You understand? So if the sponsor that wants to sponsor you has no other family member living in Canada, they may be eligible to sponsor one relative of any relationship or age under the lonely Canadian category. So if you have your distant cousin, for instance, and the person is in Canada and lonely and doesn't have anybody to support him or her, that person can qualify to actually sponsor you into Canada through that lonely Canadian category. Now, let's now look at the summary of all what we have been saying from the very beginning. The quality of life and long-term planning, assessing the long-term benefits and the lifestyle considerations of each option. So if you're coming through study permit pathway, let's say you want to come as an international student, better full-time annual work opportunities. You may not have that because yes, you can be working part-time, but you may not be able to work full-time, and you may not be able to work yearly because there are still sometimes that you may not have the opportunity to work full-time. Now, but again, under the study permit, you can get greater security of lives and property because Canada is generally safer than most of the home countries that many people are coming from, like India, Nigeria, and places like that. Now, access to better long-term quality education. Of course, Canadian colleges, polytechnics, and universities have a very good quality education. Adequate healthcare. You would most likely have to get your own healthcare insurance because the insurance system in Canada as a whole may not cover completely what you actually need as an international student when you land. And full lifetime benefits. You understand, like the social services that Canada provides to its citizenry. You may not have that opportunity because, again, as an international student, you have to fend for yourself and you will not be given some particular stipends that you qualify for. Let's say you came in, you understand, as a permanent resident. But under the work permit route, you have better full-time annual work opportunities. You can work for all the year, like from the first year you land to, like, depending on your contract, maybe 1 year or 2 year contract, you can work fully under the work permit. You have greater security of lives and properties under the work permit route. You understand? You have access to better long-term quality education. If you want to school while you are working, you can do that. Many people do that by actually schooling online whilst they are working full-time. So you can do that as well. Adequate health care from the government may not be issued to you, but again, your employer can give you adequate health care depending on if your contract actually includes it. Full-time full lifetime benefit, you may not have it because the benefit you have as a temporary foreign worker, your children may not have it when they land, or your spouse may not have it when they land. So you may not have that full lifetime benefit as a worker or as a temporary worker. Now, if as a visitor visa holder, you definitely will not be allowed to work, you understand, under the visitor visa, you understand, legally, but you will have greater security of lives and properties whilst you are touring Canada. You understand? You will not have access to long-term quality education. You can work, you can study on a short-term basis, like the truck driving I gave for an example, but you will not have adequate healthcare because you have to fend for yourself. You have to actually afford your own healthcare when you land in Canada as a visitor. You understand? But you will not also get full lifetime benefits because you are a visitor and you are not here to stay permanently. Asylum seeking is another pathway that many people think about. Yes, you can have better full-time annual work opportunities, especially when you have sought asylum and the government have actually, you understand, started working on your application. So they may give you the opportunity to actually get an open work permit to work for any employer in Canada. But you may not have greater security of lives and properties because we have seen people who came in as a visitor and sought asylum, and at the end of the day, like the story of the man that came from Nigeria that actually lost his life in Mississauga, Ontario, because yes, there was no quality shelter for him to stay. You understand? So you may need to actually get your own funds to support your lifestyle. You understand? When you land in Canada seeking asylum. Now, access to better long-term quality education. Yes, once they are already looking into your claim, you can have the opportunity to go to school and to actually upskill yourself, either to even upskill yourself by actually getting some funds or some support from the government, you understand, before they actually get to approve or, you understand, reject your claim. You can get access to adequate healthcare because yes, you are running from persecution from your home country, so the government may actually support you for your healthcare before your claim has actually been actually vetted. Now, full lifetime benefit. You don't have that full time lifetime benefit whilst you are seeking asylum until you become a permanent resident for you to have the opportunity to, you understand, to actually get into the system. So just like as we are accessing the long-term benefits and the lifestyle consideration of these options, I want us to also discuss and see through all the factors you also need to consider when planning for your future in Canada. Permanent residence is another pathway out of the 5 different pathways we are talking about today. Permanent residence is only the pathway that gives you that access to better full-time annual work opportunities or even better business opportunities, because you can also set up your business and not have any restrictions as regards the kind of business you could do. You understand? You could also get greater security of lives and properties as a permanent resident when you land in Canada. You could have access to better long-term quality education because you could study for either cheap or you could study for free through, you understand, grants, through bursaries and things like that you get from the government. You could get adequate health care because yes, you would be qualified for the health card. In other words, you have adequate health care insurance that could actually cater for you, and not just only you but your family members. And of course, you could get full lifetime benefits when you come into Canada under the permanent residence route because you have the opportunity to get social benefit. Like some of us have been getting social benefit from the government at least twice now. The government have paid us, you understand, this year. You could also have that access, especially if you have a family and you have children coming with you to Canada. So now we come to the Q&A sessions. Let's engage with the expert and clarify any of the doubts you may have. If you have any questions at all, this is the time to actually ask, you understand, your questions and receive personalized suggestions based on your specific, you understand, situations. And if, for instance, even after this webinar, you want to actually talk to us later on, you can go on the link aos.name.ng/5 minutes to converse with us, or even send us an email at admin@aosacademy.com, or even go on our website aos.name.ng to get started with any of the pathways you want. So if you have any questions, this is the time to ask it right now. Drop your questions on the comment section. Let us know if you actually want to hear from us. And lastly, I just want to tell you that it is your time to decide the future that you want for yourself and your family members. It is your choice. Do you understand? Do you want to go through the work permit route? Do you want to go through the study permit route? Do you want to go through the visitor visa route? Do you want to go through the asylum seeker route to become a refugee? You understand? Or do you want to actually go through the permanent residence route? We have the ultimate shortcut, we have the temporary residence pathways, and we have what we call on the fence pathways. So it is your own decision box. Do you understand? It is your own decision time. Do you want to be in the decision box of Canada, or do you want to be outside the decision box of Canada? Which one do you want? Put it in the comment section if you understand, have chosen for yourself and you want to go through any of the pathways we have talked about. Do you want to become an international student? Do you want to become a temporary foreign worker? Do you want to become a tourist in Canada? Do you want to become a refugee in Canada? Or do you want to become a permanent resident in Canada? So if you have any questions, this is the time to actually ask. Drop it on the comment section and we'll do justice to actually responding to your questions. Any clarifications at all you have, would really expect to, you understand, get it. Okay, since we don't have any questions, thank you very much for joining us in this webinar today. We do hope you enjoyed it and you learned one or two from all this. Do you understand? And you would always join us on our subsequent live sessions. We always have webinars every, you understand, month, and sometimes we take some of these pressing issues to help you decide well if you want to migrate to Canada and how you want to migrate to Canada, when exactly also you want to migrate, and with what you need to actually get ready to help you in your migration to Canada. Do you understand? So without any questions, we would have to call it a day. Please, if you like this, put a thumbs up, put your best emoji, you understand, share with your friends and your family, comment underneath it, and you understand, let more and more people get the opportunity you have. So thank you very much and do have a lovely day ahead. Bye for now.